I'm the evil villainess, but I'm devastatingly beautiful. After being caught by the protagonist group for my evil deeds, the male supporting character looked at my face and froze for a moment. She's just a kid in her 20s and she didn't really do anything that bad. Just dock 1 point from her credit score. The female lead got angry and scolded him. You're being way too biased. She just a little prettier. That's all. She forcefully turned my face toward her to get a good look. Then her movements suddenly became gentle. Actually, now that I think about it, you make a good point. How about we just mute her on social media for a day? As soon as she finished speaking, the male lead kicked open the door. His cold face, stormy with dark clouds, caught her. The female lead nodded, pointing at me. It's her. But the male lead's sharp gaze landed on me in just 1 second. His originally ice-cold face turned red. I rushed out and didn't have time to wash my hair. Let me come back later. The system wanted me to be the evil villainess. At that moment, I was pouring hot water on a rival company's money tree. Hearing this, I turned around confused and asked, how do I act that?
I don't know how.
The system glanced at my actions and fell silent for a moment. Just tone it down a bit. Oh, okay. I scratched my head and switched the hot water for ice water. A security guard rushed over to stop me. Hey, what are you doing? After seeing my face, he quietly handed me another cup of ice water. Because I'd been mischievous since childhood, Mom and Dad thought I was a troublemaker and dumped me at an orphanage. But the system thought I was a genius at playing evil villains. He pulled up footage of my past, watching and praising me with looks of approval. Look at this. When you were 5 in kindergarten, just as a kid was about to sit down, you pulled his chair away and made him fall on his butt. Me, actually. It was because that chair leg was broken. I wanted to help him switch chairs. Who knew he'd be so impatient? I hadn't even had a chance to speak before. Before he sat down, the system continued. Look, when you were 8 in elementary school, you stole someone's lunch and made them go hungry all afternoon. Me, actually. That was because I saw a cockroach crawl into that kid's lunchbox. I was so scared I grabbed his food and threw it in the trash. Before I could explain, the chubby kid started crying and ran to tell the teacher I felt wrong.
2.
In the end, I was forced to apologize because the principal patted his shiny, big belly and guaranteed. Our school wins the National Super Lean Award every year. There's absolutely no way we could have cockroaches. The system continued. Look, in high school, just as the school beauty was about to confess to the school heartthrob, you pinned him against the wall and forcibly kissed him. Me, actually. I slipped and crashed into his mouth. Just as I was about to get up and apologize, he held me down and kept kissing. He even gripped my waist and wouldn't let me go. His thumbnail was practically digging into my flesh. He definitely had a secret crush on me. After all, I'm so gorgeous. But none of these things could be verified anymore. And there was no way to explain them. The system turned off the screen. There are many, many more. My evaluation of these behaviors has only 3 words. I hesitated. Too evil. The system patted my head wrong. It's totally cool. He pulled me along, his eyes shining. I've been searching for a natural-born villain. And you're exactly what everyone's been waiting for. You're bad in the most pioneering way. No questions asked, hardened, multi-generational, far and wide. Completely lost, up and down. Smooth as silk, a drop in the ocean. Absolutely perfect. You're simply gifted. I couldn't argue back. I was speechless because at that moment, his words got my blood pumping. It really sounded exciting. Since I couldn't be the protagonist, why not be an evil villainess? A gifted antagonist, people, right? Just live life to the fullest. Like, right? It's just one wild ride. Dare to venture. Dare to act hard. To take responsibility. Be bad thoroughly, completely, and leave everyone in the dust. That's the motto of us great villains. So what should I do now? I rubbed my hands together, eager to try. First, the system pushed my head back into the bushes. Go push the female lead, Emma, into the water. I hesitated. That's not very nice. The system suddenly shouted.
Candy here.
By reflex, I straightened up. Who are you? I'm a person, system. You read the evil, villainous antagonist. Okay, I'm the great villain, Candy. The system wanted to say something, but hesitated.
Well,
this name doesn't really sound like a villain, but that's okay. The system cheered itself up. I'll count 3, 2, 1, then you go. Okay. I stretched my legs. I'm ready. Good. 3, 2, 1.
Charge.
Before he finished speaking, I burst out of the bushes and slid right up to the female lead, Emma. Emma was startled. Excuse me?
Who are you?
I smiled wickedly and pushed with my hand. With a loud splash, water sprayed everywhere. Emma fell into the artificial lake.
Help, help.
She choked on some water, struggled to the surface with her hands. Her pretty little face pale as a sheet. I cackled twice.
Now you know who I am.
Suddenly, a cold-faced, handsome guy appeared out of nowhere, pushed me aside, jumped into the water, and rescued the female lead. Run, Candy. If you don't run, are you waiting for the male and female leads to be?
The system was frustrated with me.
So that tall, handsome guy was the male lead. I should have copped a feel of those ABS while I had the chance, but I felt like I'd seen him somewhere before. He looked so much like that school heartthrob I forcibly kissed in high school. Run, the system urged again. So, I took off running. I didn't notice that behind me, the rescued female lead looked at me gratefully and said to the male lead, "It was her. I had heat stroke just now, and almost faint. That girl was smart. She pushed me into the water to cool me down. She just didn't know I couldn't swim." She sighed and said regretfully, "Too bad. She did a good deed," without leaving her name, and left. Next time I see her, I'll definitely thank her properly. The male lead, Nathan, stood there watching the direction I left, thoughtfully rubbing his fingertips that still held some warmth. This is where the male lead lives. I looked at the shadowy villa in front of me, grinding my teeth with hatred for rich people. Yes, right now. The male lead is taking a shower in the bathroom. I cleverly broke the door lock. "You go in and steal the change of clothes." The maid just put by the door too. Great opportunities for the male and female leads. The female lead will come visit soon.
So you just need to leave before then.
The system excitedly snapped his fingers. "Come on, great villain." The 3 words great villain made me feel euphoric. I pushed open the already damaged door without hesitation and walked in. No joke. The inside of the villa was like the Vienna concert hall. The system gave me an hour of navigation before I finally found the male lead's bedroom. Is the male lead still showering? The system pulled up the footage and took a look. Yes, he's taking a bath. Then he wiped away his nosebleed. I was extremely envious. Stupid system eating so well. Let me take a look. No way.
Just go already.
The system kicked me right to the bathroom door. There was a shelf with the male leads.
Change of clothes on it.
I grabbed them all and ran. But somehow I tripped over something, instantly losing my balance. I crashed to the ground with a bang. The clothes in my hand scattered everywhere like flower petals. I covered my butt, groaning in pain. Suddenly, I heard a click. The bathroom door opened. Through a cloud of steamy mist, a man emerged. Halfway his black hair was messy, half covering his pale eyes. Clear water droplets slid down his well-defined ABS into the white towel wrapped around his waist. System's nosebleed whoosh flowed down again, and me. I was only concerned about my butt. That almost got split into 8 pieces. Looking at myself in the nearby mirror. System, is my butt flat now? I did 8 months of Pilates. 1 fall and I'm back to square one.
Wow.
No one answered me. When I turned around, I couldn't see a trace of the system. Standing in front of me was a man with an extremely cold expression. The moment I saw his face clearly, my heart almost jumped into my throat. Holy moly. How did Nathan come out? Stupid system? You didn't even warn me. You ran away and left me alone to clean up this mess. I sat frozen on the cold marble floor, my hands instinctively clutching a pair of dark silk boxers I had just scooped up. I slowly looked up, my eyes traveling past the water droplets clinging to those perfectly sculpted calves, past the criminally dangerous V-line dipping into the towel, all the way up to Nathan's face. His expression was unreadable, dark and stormy. His wet hair cast shadows over his eyes, but I could see the sudden tension in his jaw. My brain short-circuited. What does a great, generational, smooth-as-silk villainess say in this situation? Think, Candy, think. I am inspecting your laundry, I blurted out, holding the silk boxers up like a prize. As your sworn enemy, I came to make sure your undergarments are of inferior quality, so I can mock you on the internet.
Ha, ha, ha.
I threw my head back and forced a villainous cackle. It sounded more like a dying goose. Nathan just stood there. Then, a slow, deep red color began to creep up from his neck, entirely consuming his ears. He looked at the boxers in my hands, then at my face, which was flushed from the fall and the embarrassment. "Candy," he said, his voice surprisingly hoarse. "If you wanted my clothes, you could have just asked." Wait, what? Before I could process that extremely weird response, the doorbell rang. It echoed loudly through the cavernous villa. "Oh no," I gasped. "The female lead." "The what?" Nathan frowned, taking a step toward me. "I have to hide. I'm the villainess. I can't be caught doing petty theft before the main plot kicks in." I scrambled to my feet, still clutching his clothes, and looked around wildly. "Candy, put my clothes down," Nathan sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. The blush was still prominent on his cheeks. "And why are you running? You literally broke my door lock." "Exactly. Villainy," I declared. I shoved the clothes into his chest, practically feeling the heat radiating off his skin, and bolted toward the heavy velvet curtains covering the floor-to-ceiling windows. I wrapped myself in the thick fabric just as I heard the front door open. Nathan? The door was unlocked. It was Emma. Her sweet, melodious voice drifted down the hallway. I held my breath, peeking through a tiny slit in the curtains. Nathan had quickly pulled on a bathrobe, tying it securely around his waist just as Emma walked into the bedroom. "Emma," Nathan said, his voice instantly reverting to its icy, untouchable baseline. "Why are you here?" "I brought the quarterly reports," she said, holding up a folder. Then, she paused, looking at the messy floor, the broken bathroom door, and the scattered clothes. "Did someone break in?" "No," Nathan said smoothly. "Just a stray cat." "A stray cat? I am a devastatingly beautiful villainess. You jerk." Emma walked further into the room, her eyes scanning the space. "A cat? But the door handle is completely busted. And," her gaze landed on the floor near the window. "Nathan, does your stray cat wear Prada heels?" I looked down.
Crap.
One of my stilettos had popped off when I fell and was sitting right in the middle of the rug, pointing accusingly at my hiding spot. "Oh." Emma's eyes widened. She slowly walked toward the curtain.
System.
"Help." I screamed internally. Nothing. Crickets. Emma pulled the curtain back. We stared at each other. Me, awkwardly pressed against the glass like a squished bug, hair disheveled, missing a shoe. Her, blinking in shock. "It's you." Emma suddenly squealed, dropping her folder. I puffed out my chest, trying to look menacing. "That's right. It is I, the evil. My savior." Emma lunged forward and grabbed both my hands, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I've been looking everywhere for you." My jaw dropped. "Savior? No. I pushed you into the lake." "I know." Emma nodded enthusiastically. "The doctor said if you hadn't cooled my core temperature down instantly, my heatstroke would have caused permanent neurological damage. You saved my life, and you are so humble you ran away before I could even thank you." "No, I ran away because I'm the bad guy." I protested, looking helplessly at Nathan. Nathan was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, watching the scene with an expression that looked suspiciously like a smirk. "She is very unique," he told Emma quietly. "I am evil." I stomped my foot, the one with the shoe. "I broke in here to steal his clothes, so he'd be naked and embarrassed." Emma gasped softly, her hands flying to her cheeks. She looked at Nathan, then at me, a blush forming on her face.
Oh.
"I understand." Finally, I threw my hands up. "You guys are doing role play," Emma whispered excitedly. "I am so sorry I interrupted. Nathan, you should have told me you had your girlfriend over." "Gosh, breaking the door? You two are wild." Crack. That was the sound of my brain breaking. "Girlfriend," I shrieked. Nathan coughed, turning his head away, but I could clearly see the tips of his ears were practically glowing red again. "Emma, the reports. Leave them on the desk." "Of course. Have a great afternoon, you two. Don't let me stop the villainy." Emma winked, actually winked at me, and practically skipped out of the room. The front door clicked shut. Silence fell over the bedroom. I stood perfectly still, my villainous reputation in absolute ruins. I looked at Nathan. He looked back at me. "Role play," he murmured, his dark eyes suddenly looking very intense as he slowly walked toward me. "So, you're the evil villainess who breaks into my house?" "Don't come any closer," I warned, taking a step back until my back hit the cold window glass. I have a black belt in Pilates." Nathan stopped just inches from me. He reached out, his long, elegant fingers brushing a stray strand of hair behind my ear. His breath was warm, smelling of mint and expensive cedar body wash. "Candy," he said softly, his voice a low rumble. "You haven't changed at all since high school." My heart did a traitorous flip. "You remember that?" "How could I forget?" He leaned in a fraction closer. "The girl I liked threw herself at me, kissed me senseless, and then ran away for 5 years. And now, she breaks into my bathroom." I stared at him, my devastatingly beautiful face probably contorted in pure confusion. "Like me?"
Wait.
You held me down. Your thumbnail dug into my waist. A soft, genuine laugh escaped his lips. "Because you were trying to run away." I panicked. "I thought you liked me back." Before I could process this earth-shattering revelation, a familiar ding echoed in my head. System reboot complete. "Host. I am back." "Oh wow, you guys are close. Are you about to assassinate him?" "Do it. Assassinate your head." I yelled internally. "Where were you?" "Tactical retreat. But listen, I have a new mission. Tonight is the annual business gala. Emma will be there, and so will a rival CEO. Your mission is to publicly humiliate Nathan, push Emma into the rival's arms, and secure your place as the ultimate antagonist." I swallowed hard, looking up at Nathan's ridiculously handsome face. I have to go. I ducked under his arm, grabbed my solitary shoe, and sprinted for the door. Candy, Nathan called out. I'll see you tonight, I yelled back, not entirely sure why I said it, and threw myself out the front door. Part 2. The Gala Disaster. The plan was foolproof. According to the system, I needed to wear something utterly garish to embarrass Nathan, who was known for his impeccable, understated taste. Then, I was to spill red wine all over his $1 million contract during his keynote speech. How does this look? I asked the mirror. Host. The system sounded conflicted. I told you to pick the ugliest dress. Why did you pick a custom haute couture blood red silk gown with a thigh-high slit? It was on the clearance rack, I lied. The truth was, my devastating beauty refused to be contained. The dress hugged my curves perfectly, the deep red contrasting flawlessly with my skin. I looked like a dangerous, breathtaking femme fatale, which is basically a villainess, right?
Fine.
Just focus on the wine spilling. It will ruin him. I arrived at the gala and immediately spotted Nathan. He was in a sharp black tuxedo, looking like a literal god among men, holding a crystal glass and talking to some boring old executives. Emma was nearby, looking lovely in a pastel blue dress. I grabbed a full glass of red wine from a passing waiter and stalked toward Nathan. Prepare for trouble, I muttered. As I approached, the crowd naturally parted. I could hear the whispers.
Who is that?
She's gorgeous. Is she an actress? I smirked. Yes, trembled before my evil beauty. I reached the table where Nathan had left his leather folder. The contract was inside. I took a deep breath, raised the glass of wine, and aggressively tripped over my own feet.
Ah.
Oh no, I am falling, I announced loudly. I tossed the wine directly at the folder. But just as the crimson liquid left the glass, a man in a gray suit suddenly lunged forward, trying to grab the folder.
Splash.
The wine hit the man directly in the face, blinding him. He shrieked, dropping the folder and stumbling backward into a waiter carrying a tray of champagne. A massive crash echoed through the ballroom. Nathan spun around. His eyes widened slightly when he saw me, taking in the red dress, before his gaze snapped to the groaning man on the floor. Security, Nathan barked. 2 massive guards rushed over and hauled the dripping man to his feet. As they did, a silver USB drive fell from the man's pocket. An executive gasped. That's John from accounting. And that USB, that's our prototype server data. He was trying to steal the folder as a distraction to swap the drives. Nathan's expression turned frosty as he looked at the traitor. Take him to the police. Then, the entire room turned to look at me. Host, the system whispered in my mind. Tell me you didn't just foil a corporate espionage plot.
I didn't mean to.
I was trying to ruin the contract. Emma rushed forward, her eyes sparkling like stars. You did it again. You saw the spy moving for the documents and used the wine to stop him. You're like a secret agent. The crowd erupted into applause. Brilliant reflexes. Such bravery. And she looks absolutely stunning doing it. I stood there, holding an empty wine glass, my eye twitching. No, I'm evil. I'm a troublemaker. Nathan walked up to me. The icy CEO persona was fully intact for the crowd, but as he stopped in front of me, I saw the undeniable warmth in his eyes. It seems I owe you my company's future, Miss Candy, he said, his voice carrying over the crowd. He reached out, gently taking the empty glass from my hand and handing it to a waiter. Then he offered me his arm. May I have this dance as a token of my gratitude? My brain screamed no. Villainesses don't dance with the hero. But my hand, entirely on its own, slipped into the crook of his arm. Just one dance. To plot your demise up close. I welcome it, he whispered, leading me to the dance floor. As the orchestra began to play a slow waltz, he pulled me close. His hand rested firmly on my waist, right where his thumbnail had dug in years ago. The heat radiating from him was intoxicating. You look breathtaking tonight, he murmured, his lips brushing against my ear. I stepped on his foot.
Hard.
Ouch, he grunted, though he didn't loosen his grip. That's for calling me a stray cat. I huffed. He chuckled, a low, sexy sound that made my toes curl. Fair enough. But you have to admit, you have a habit of showing up in my life, turning everything upside down and then trying to run. I'm an antagonist, I said stubbornly, looking up into his eyes. I'm supposed to make your life miserable. Nathan's gaze softened. He stopped dancing right in the middle of the floor, forcing everyone else to dance around us. He looked down at me with such intense affection, I felt my knees go weak. Candy, you could burn my house down, and I'd just ask if you were cold, he said quietly. I've been looking for you, for 5 years. I'm not letting you run away again. My heart hammered against my ribs. System? I called out helplessly. System, what do I do? He's off script. The male lead is broken. Host. The system sounded utterly defeated. Initiate emergency protocol 404. Kidnap the female lead and flee. Part 3. The Great Escape and Snacks. I didn't know how to kidnap someone elegantly, so I basically grabbed Emma's hand from the buffet table and yelled, "Look, a limited edition designer handbag." When she followed me outside, I shoved her into my sports car, locked the doors, and peeled out of the parking lot. "Ha!" I cackled, gripping the steering wheel as we sped toward the outskirts of the city. "You are now my hostage, Emma. Tremble in fear. Nathan will have to pay a ransom of $10 million and a lifetime supply of spicy chips." Emma, sitting in the passenger seat, carefully adjusted her seatbelt. "Oh, this is fun. Where are we going? Do I need to text Nathan to bring the chips, or will you?" I slammed on the brakes, pulling into the parking lot of an abandoned warehouse, the premier destination for all villainous activities. "You don't text him. I send a threatening ransom note." "Got it." Emma nodded seriously. "Do you want to use a scary font? I have a great app for that." I groaned, slamming my head against the steering wheel. Why was being evil so hard? We went inside the warehouse. It was dusty and smelled like old tires. I had prepared for this, mostly by bringing a picnic blanket, 2 folding chairs, and a cooler full of snacks, because even hostages need to hydrate. We sat on the blanket. Emma happily munched on a bag of sour cream and onion chips. "So," Emma said, passing me a juice box. "You and Nathan, huh?" "There is no me and Nathan," I said, aggressively stabbing my juice box with a tiny straw. "I am the villainess meant to tear you two apart. You are the female lead." Emma giggled. "Candy, Nathan is my cousin." I froze. The juice box slipped from my hand, splashing onto the concrete. "Your cousin?"
Yeah.
"He's my dad's nephew. I just started working at his company to learn the ropes. Honestly, he's been impossible to deal with for the last 5 years. Moody, cold, always staring out windows dramatically. But today, when you showed up in his bedroom, I've never seen him look so alive." My jaw hung open. "System." I roared in my mind. "You said she was the female lead." A holographic projection of the system suddenly popped up in the dusty warehouse. He looked like a chibi anime boy, and he was currently sweating bullets, twiddling his fingers. "Well, technically she is the female lead of her own life," he squeaked. "You lied to me." I jumped up, pointing an accusatory finger at the hologram. "You said I was a natural-born villain. You said I was perfectly evil." The system sighed, his shoulders slumping. "Okay, fine. The truth is, I'm not a villain system. I'm a matchmaking system." "A what?" "A matchmaking system. Specifically, the fix-or-regret model. Nathan has been pining for you for 5 years. His regret level was so high it triggered the cosmic network. But when I scanned your profile, I saw you had this weird obsession with being a rebel. If I told you to go romance him, you would have run for the hills." I crossed my arms, my face burning. "So you tricked me into thinking I was doing evil deeds to push us together?" "You were pouring hot water on a plant." The system defended himself. "And you apologized to a chair in kindergarten. You couldn't be evil if you tried, Candy. You're just a chaotic good with a bad girl aesthetic." "I am devastatingly beautiful," I retorted, lacking any better comeback. "Yes, and he is devastatingly in love with you," the system countered. Mission accomplished. System logging off permanently. "Have a nice life, Mrs. CEO." With a pop, the hologram vanished. I stood there in the quiet warehouse, processing the fact that my entire villainous career was a sham. I wasn't the antagonist. I was the incredibly gullible love interest. Suddenly, the heavy metal doors of the warehouse shrieked open. Dust swirled as the headlights of a sleek black SUV pierced the gloom. The doors opened, and 4 men in ski masks stepped out. They looked big, mean, and held metal pipes. Well, the leader growled, smacking his pipe against his hand. "The boss said John from accounting got busted, but he managed to track the CEO's little cousin here. Grab the girl. We'll use her to get the company." Emma gasped, dropping her chips and hiding behind me. "Candy, I don't think these guys are role-playing." My heart plummeted into my stomach. Real bad guys. Actual, terrifying villains. But as I looked at them, something inside me snapped. After a whole day of being mocked by a matchmaking system, ruining my own evil plans, and finding out I was basically a rom-com protagonist, I was pissed. I stepped forward, my high heels clicking ominously on the concrete. The blood-red silk of my gown billowed slightly in the draft. I tilted my chin up, channeling every ounce of the devastating, generational, smooth-as-silk villainous energy I possessed. "You have 5 seconds to leave," I said, my voice dropping an octave, sounding remarkably cold and terrifying. The thugs paused, clearly taken aback by the stunning woman in an evening gown glaring at them like they were bugs on her windshield. "Listen, lady," the leader started. 4. I interrupted, snapping a piece of wood off a broken pallet nearby. I held it like a baseball bat. You think you're bad? I stole a kid's lunch in elementary school. I broke a billionaire's door lock this morning. I am the apex predator of the city. The thugs exchanged confused glances. 3. I took a step closer, smiling a smile that didn't reach my eyes. If you take one more step toward my hostage, I will ensure your kneecaps become decorative paperweights. Just as I counted to 2, the screech of tires echoed outside. A silver sports car drifted into the warehouse, blocking the thug's exit. The door flew open, and Nathan stepped out. He didn't look like an icy CEO anymore. He had taken off his jacket, his bow tie was undone, and his sleeves were rolled up, revealing muscular forearms. His eyes were murderous as they locked onto the men holding pipes. "Nathan," Emma cheered. Nathan didn't say a word. He walked forward, took the leader by the collar, and threw him over the hood of the SUV with terrifying ease. The other 3 thugs rushed him, but Nathan dodged a pipe swing, delivered a devastating punch to the second guy's jaw, and kicked the third guy's legs out from under him. The last thug dropped his pipe, threw his hands up, and ran for the hills. It took less than 30 seconds. Nathan dusted off his hands, stepping over the groaning men. He walked straight toward me. His chest was heaving slightly, a lock of black hair falling over his forehead. He looked incredibly dangerous and entirely irresistible. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his voice tight with worry, his hands hovering over my shoulders as if afraid I would shatter. "I had it handled," I muttered, dropping my makeshift wooden bat. I was on too. Nathan let out a breath that sounded like a half-laugh, half-sob. He suddenly closed the distance, wrapping his arms securely around my waist and pulling me flush against his chest. He buried his face in my neck, holding me so tightly my feet almost left the ground. "Don't ever do that again," he whispered into my skin, his voice trembling slightly. "When I saw your car was gone, I thought I lost you again." I stood frozen for a second, my hands hovering awkwardly in the air. Then, slowly, I wrapped my arms around his broad shoulders. I could hear his heartbeat, fast and frantic against my own. "I'm sorry," I said softly. Then my old habits flared up. "But technically, I kidnapped your cousin. I demand a ransom." Nathan pulled back just enough to look into my eyes. The coldness was entirely gone, replaced by a burning, devoted heat that made my breath catch. "Name your price," he said without hesitation. "Money, the company, my life. It's yours. It always has been." I swallowed hard, my devastatingly beautiful face breaking into a genuine, unstoppable smile. "I want the lifetime supply of spicy chips," I said. "And maybe a real date. No role play." Nathan smiled, a full, blindingly handsome smile that made my heart do a somersault. He leaned in, his lips brushing against mine.
Deal.
My beautiful villainess. He kissed me. It wasn't rushed or accidental like high school. It was slow, deliberate, and entirely intoxicating. The warehouse, the groaning thugs, and Emma cheering in the background faded away. As his hand tightened around my waist, I realized something important. I might have been a complete failure as an evil antagonist. I didn't ruin any credit scores, I didn't steal any companies, and my one kidnapping attempt ended with a picnic. But as I kissed Nathan back, wrapping my arms around his neck, I figured it wasn't a total loss. After all, I had successfully stolen the heart of the richest, most handsome male lead in the city. And honestly, that's the most boss-level villain move of them all.